Okay, we're talking about major scales today. I apologize, I'm kind of losing my voice. Hopefully that won't be a problem. When we look at our major scale, here we have a C major scale going all the way across. We're going to use this as a model because it's all the white keys. It's easy to see. We have a whole step. Start out with a whole step, another whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, and finally half step. So you can see whole, half, whole, half. That is going to be true. You will have this series of whole and half steps for every major scale that you make. Now the cool thing about this is by starting at different points, if you start on C, you get this shape, this unique shape that goes straight across all white keys. But if you start on other notes, you get a different shape of back and forth between the black and the white. All 12 major scales have unique shapes after you build whole, half, whole, half from the starting note. In this case, it was C. So by going whole, we skipped a note. So 2 half steps make a whole. Whole. This is the half because there's nothing in between. Whole, and then half again to end. We can notice that from E to F and B to C are the 2 places where we have half steps in the scale. Using solfege, we would call this do, re, mi, and fa. Mi and fa are always a half step. Sol, la, ti, do. Ti and do are always a half step in major keys. Okay, now we're looking at the piano. Try this out. If we take our C scale, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, we have mi to fa is where the half step is. Sol, la, ti to do is where the other half step is. If we do this on another scale, let's say G for instance. So we start on G. And this is important, you always have to say the name of the note first. That's the name of the key. Once you have your starting point, G, now we're gonna go whole, half, whole. Here we have another whole step, so it's gonna be up to the F sharp and then to G. So our major scale on G goes G, whole, half, whole, half. Or do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Ti to do and mi to fa are the 2 half steps in the scale. So our G major scale, if I play it faster so you can see the shape, it's going to go G up to 1 bump near the end for on the black key. So we have all white keys and then 1 bump for the black key. And that's what you need to remember for G major. Other scales are more complex in their interaction between black and white. Let's try A flat for instance. We go A flat, we're going to go A flat, say the name first, and then whole, half, whole, half. Going back down, you do the same notes. Whole, half, whole, half. Now, when you're around these areas where the gap is in the black keys, that's where it's going to get a little bit unusual, the whole steps, or where they're going to trade. So here's a whole step from B to C sharp. Here's a whole step from B flat to C. But if you're not going across one of those gaps, whole steps are always black to black. That's a whole step. White to white, white to white. When I get here, white to white is a half step, so I have to add another half step to be a whole step. Whole, half, whole. I'm just randomly pointing out a bunch of whole steps and half steps. Whole, half, whole, half, whole. So each one of these is going to have its own shape. The A flat one. A natural. F sharp. An interesting thing about F sharp is this one, we use this in two ways. Sometimes we call it F sharp. Sometimes we call it G flat. And you have to name the notes in this major scale differently depending on which one you start with, because every new note has to have a new letter. So if I start with F sharp, I go whole step, some kind of G, that'll be G sharp, some kind of A, whole step, some kind of A is A sharp, then I have a half step, this will be a B natural, next has to be some kind of C, so it's going to be a whole step, C sharp, another whole step to some kind of D, which will be D sharp, then I need to go to some kind of E. After D sharp comes some kind of E, and it's a whole step. So what kind of E is this? That's actually F on the keyboard. But E is right here, and we need to name this next note after D sharp. We have to have some kind of E, so the name we use for this one is E sharp. And then we get up to F sharp. So the notes in this scale are F sharp, and then G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F sharp. If we go back and we rename this first one as G flat, it'll be the same notes on the keyboard, but the names will be different. G flat, A flat, B flat, some kind of C, and it's right here. That's a C flat. So we have to do whole, half. Therefore, this one, it has to be this note and not the C natural. G flat, A flat, B flat, C flat, D flat, E flat, F natural, G flat. And that's the way you spell this scale if you start on G flat instead of F sharp. Now you can do this for any of the notes. For instance, this note could be D flat or it could be C sharp, and you can name it all the way through. Depending on which one you choose, you'll have to use different letters. A little side note that's interesting. Every note on the keyboard, except for one, has 3 different names on it, if you include double sharps and double flats. So, for instance, this note, C, could also be called B sharp. There's the B sharp. Or it could be called D double flat. D, D flat, D double flat. So depending on how it's used in the scale, this might be C, or it might be B sharp, or it might be D double flat. And let's just go through these quickly. This one could be C sharp, or it could be D flat, or it could be B double sharp. What it cannot be is E triple flat. So we have a B double sharp, we have a C sharp, we have a D flat, and we have an E. We have nothing for E on this one. So this one is B double sharp, C sharp, or D flat. This one is D or C double sharp or E double flat. Those are all of your options. D sharp, E flat, F double flat, E, F flat, D double sharp, E sharp, F or G double flat, E double sharp, F sharp or G flat, G flat, F double sharp, G or A double flat, G sharp or A flat. This is the only one that has just 2 names because it's too far away to get another letter with a double flat or a double sharp. G double sharp, A or B double flat, A sharp, B flat or C double flat, A double sharp, B natural or C flat. And then we're back to C, which is where we started. Okay.